Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, in this lesson, we'll be going through the first poem of Songs of Experience, which is known as the Introduction to the Songs of Experience. If you remember, we did the introduction to the Songs of Innocence. In the same manner, this is the introduction to the Songs of Experience. And in some way, it is going to present an opposite picture of the introduction to the Songs of Innocence. Okay, we'll begin. So, hey, the voice of the bard, who present, past, and future see, whose ears have heard the holy word that walked among the ancient trees, calling the lapsed soul and weeping in the evening dew, that might control the starry pole and fallen light renew. O earth, return, arise from out the dewy grass. Night is worn, and the morn rises from the slumberous past. Turn away no more. Why wilt thou turn away? The starry flow, the watery shore, is given thee till the break of day. Okay. So William Blake's introduction to the Songs of Innocence is the first poem in the collection Songs of Experience. The poem explores deep symbols and mystical ideas and is more complex than the poem in Songs of Innocence. While Songs of Innocence is simple and written in a way that can appeal to children, Songs of Experience is more serious and full of deeper meaning. At the time Blake wrote these poems, he was also working on his prophetic books, where he created his own system of symbols and mythology. These personal symbols may seem confusing, but they add deeper meaning to his poetry. In this poem, the bard, for example, acts like a prophet who calls on fallen humanity to regain the power of imagination that has been lost because of the dominance of reason and oppression. With this, we move on to the first stanza of the poem. Hear the voice of the bard who present past and future sees, whose ears have heard the holy word that walked among the ancient trees. So, in the first stanza of introduction to the Songs of Innocence, William Blake presents the bard as a wise and almost divine figure whose voice introduces the poem. The command here invites readers to listen carefully to what the bard is about to say, showing that his message is important. The poem says that the bard can see the present, the past, and the future, which suggests that he has great wisdom and understanding of time. It also says that his ears have heard the holy word, meaning he has received divine truth or spiritual knowledge. At the end of the stanza, the holy word is described as walking among ancient trees, combining the idea of spirituality with nature. So, whose ears have heard the holy word that walked among the ancients. So that holy word would be the divine word, okay, divinity. So that is being connected with the nature. So the idea of divinity, the idea of spirituality is being combined with nature, which suggests that both will go hand in hand, both have a very close relation. So overall, this stanza creates a respectful and serious tone and introduces the ideas of prophecy, spiritual vision, and communication with the divine. With this, we move on to the second stanza, calling the lapsed soul and weeping in the evening dew, that might control the starry pole and fallen right new. Now, he calls out to the human soul that has fallen away from innocence. He carries sadly in the quiet evening dew. He hopes that his soul can once again guide the heavens and restore the lost spiritual light that has fallen into darkness. The second stanza uh, focuses on the idea that humanity has fallen from a pure and innocent state. The bard calls out to the lapsed soul, which means a soul that has moved away from innocence and its connection with God. The image of someone weeping in the evening dew shows sadness and regret, suggesting that people have lost the purity they once had. This idea is similar to the story of humans expelled from Garden of Eden, symbolizing the loss of innocence and the realization of human suffering and mortality. The wish to control the starry pool shows a desire to bring back order, wisdom, and spiritual guidance that were lost after this one. The bard also asks to renew fallen light, meaning he hopes that the lost spiritual light or innocence can be restored. This reflects the idea that when people become aware of the realities of life, they lose the simple happiness of childhood. Overall, this stanza describes humanity's fallen condition. The bard speaks with sympathy and understanding, expressing a desire for people to regain spiritual light and guidance. It also connects the pure innocence of the past with the more complicated and painful experiences of the present. With this, we move on to the third stanza. O earth, return. Arise from out the dewy grass. Night is worn, and the morn rises from the slumberous mass. This third stanza shows an important change in the poem. Instead of speaking to fallen humanity, the bard now speaks directly to the earth. Here, the earth can be understood as a symbol of the divine feminine. In in many mythological and poetic traditions, earth is associated with motherhood and fertility, often called Mother Earth. So, because of this traditional association, critics often interpret the earth here as the symbol of divine feminine. Okay, so the earth can be understood over here as a symbol of divine feminine. The poem suggests that the earth is in a state of sleep and or inactivity, possibly because certain religious ideas have suppressed or ignored the feminine side of the divine. The bard asks the earth to return and rise from the dewy grass, which symbolically means that he is calling for it to awaken again. This awakening represents the revival of this feminine spiritual power that has been hidden or suppressed. The image of night ending and morning rising suggests renewal and a new beginning. It represents the idea that darkness or sleep will end and a new spiritual awakening will take place. Overall, the stanza expresses the bard's wish for the earth to regain its sacred power and for the lost feminine energy to be restored. Words like earth, dewy grass, night, and morn connect the stanza to nature, and nature is traditionally linked with feminine, creative, and nurturing forces. With this, I hope you get to understand the idea of the um the feminine side of the nature, okay, na? And what is the message of Bard? Because that was the time in which they was not talking about the religion. The authorities of the religion were quite authoritative, and in the same way, many people were talking about reason. So, in doing so, the creative side of the people had been lost. Okay, and with that, people in those times they were supposed to become machines. Okay, and that's why he's asking for the feminine creative side of the earth and the nurturing forces of the earth to come back. Okay, with this, we move on to the fourth stanza of the poem. Turn away no more. Why wilt thou turn away? The starry floor, the watery shore, is giving thee till the break of day. So, in this final stanza, Blake continues the message of the bard. The line "turn away no more" is a strong request asking someone to stop ignoring or avoiding the truth. The question, "Why will thou turn away?" makes the reader think about why they are turning away from this truth or God. The images of the starry floor and the watery shore suggest the vast and imaginative world available to human beings. These images represent the spiritual and imaginative possibilities that people can experience. However, the poem says that these are given till the break of day, which suggests that this opportunity will not last forever. and it must be used before it is too late. So the final stanza can be understood in different ways. One interpretation is that Bard is speaking to human beings, encouraging them to reconnect with the earth and with their spiritual and imaginative powers they have ignored. Another interpretation over here would be that the bard is calling on the divine feminine, yani ki the earth, symbolized by the earth, to rise again and take her rightful place beside the masculine power in the universe. And masculine power would be the power of reason, would be the power of authority, would be the power of religion. Now, with this, we move on to the themes of this poem. The first theme happens to be the prophetic vision and divine insight. So, the bard is presented as a wise figure who understands past, present, and future and has heard the holy word. So, this suggests that he has received divine knowledge and is able to guide humanity. Through the bard, Blake presents the idea that poets and prophets can reveal spiritual truths and awaken people from ignorance. The second theme happens to be the fallen state of humanity. So the poem highlights that humanity has fallen away from innocence and spiritual truth. The bard calls the lapsed soul, which means the soul that has strayed from its original purity. This reflects the idea that humans have lost their connection with the divine and now live in a state of spiritual confusion and suffering. And the third theme is spiritual awakening and renewal. So the bard repeatedly calls for a return and renewal. When he says, O earth, return, he is actually urging the world to wake up from the spiritual sleep. The image of night ending and morning rising symbolizes the possibility of spiritual rebirth and enlightenment. The fourth theme is the power of imagination and spiritual faith. Blake suggests that human beings have access to a vast spiritual and imaginative world represented by images such as the starry floor and the watery shore. These symbolize the limitless possibilities of imagination and spiritual understanding. However, this opportunity is temporary, as shown in the phrase till the break of day. The fifth theme is reconnection with nature and the poem emphasizes the need to reconnect with earth and nature. The bard speaks directly to the earth and asks it to arise from the grass. This suggests that harmony between human nature and the divine has been lost and needs to be restored. With this, we move on to the literary devices of this poem. The first literary device which we will talk about is symbolism. The poem uses symbols to represent bigger ideas. For example, the starry pole stands for reason, and watery shore represents imagination. कैसे भाई? The stars and the pole, यानी कि the axis of the sky, represent order, structure, and law, the qualities which are associated with human nature. Whereas water and shores are flexible, flowing, and ever changing, much like human imagination. So, by linking the watery shore to imagination, Lake highlights creativity, intuition, and spiritual insight, qualities that are free and not bound by any strict logic. The second theme, the second literary device is imagery. Blake paints clear pictures with words like walked among the ancient trees and deepen in the evening. And these images they help the reader see and feel the scene. And the poem is filled with many other images of this sort. And it is quite understandable easily. The next literary device is alliteration. The repetition of the sound as in fallen, fallen, light reading. It adds emphasis and musicality to the poem. Emphasis किस पे है? That the world, the earth has fallen into things which were not very close to humanity and which are not really close to human imagination and creativity. Okay? The next literary device is repetition. Phrases like O earth, return, they are repeated to show the urgency of the bard's message. Okay? The next literary device is metaphor. Blake compares abstract ideas to concrete images. Like the starry port is a metaphor for reason, logic, and rational mind. And slumberous mass is a metaphor for earth or humanity in a state of sleep, slate, dormancy, and inactivity. Okay, and he's making or comparing these abstract ideas to images to make the meanings of these ideas clearer. Then there is personification present over here as well. The poem gives human qualities to them, making it seem as if it can act and respond, which adds life to image. Now we move on to the final thing, which is form and structure. The poem Introduction to the Songs of Experience has four stanzas, each with 5 lines. While some lines vary slightly, most of the poem follows iambic tetrameter, meaning each line has 4 lines. This musical flow makes the poem feel calm, meditative, and harmonious, which matches the spiritual and religious themes because such themes often call for reflection, reverence, and sense of order or peace. The rhyme scheme is AB AAB, helping each stanza feel complete and balanced. With this, we end this lesson. I hope you understood this, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask.